Nintendo is really funny with their Nintendo Directs, how they build up expectations and then completely knock you down with really nothing exciting and making you feel like, oh, why'd I even get excited for that Nintendo Direct? And it happens so often that you get to the point where you start lowering expectations and then they completely blow your mind. What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Smash JT. And that's exactly what happened with this Nintendo Direct for June 2024. I went into it with the lowest expectations I've had for a Nintendo Direct in a very long time. Mostly because the Nintendo Switch is, walking around with a cane in the old folks' home right now as everyone's waiting on the Switch successor, and we feel like Nintendo's just kind of dragging their feet, waiting for the Nintendo Switch 2 to come out. And what do? Instead, completely blow everyone's mind with not just a brand new Mario and Luigi game, not just a new Zelda game, but also finally, after what feels like, 7 years of the initial announcement of Metroid Prime 4, to finally showing gameplay footage of Metroid Prime 4. And it looked absolutely incredible. Hit that subscribe, give me a like, and check out SmashJT.com for the full article breaking down Nintendo Direct June 2024. And wow, this was a banger right from the start. A new Mario and Luigi game called Mario and Luigi Brothership. Mario and Luigi, one of those series that doesn't get enough attention, doesn't get enough play, doesn't have enough people talking about it, where Superstar Saga on Game Boy Advance was like one of my favorite Mario games ever made. And I genuinely mean that. So hearing about a new Mario and Luigi game called Brothership and watching the graphics and the trailer, yeah, I feel like their outlines on their body and the shadows are a little heavy, but the more I watched it, the better it looked. I got used to the style and it was very unique. It was very Mario and Luigi. It doesn't take itself too seriously. They turn themselves into a UFO by spinning fast. Like, it's not supposed to be based on real life. This is the kind of game that video games were made for. And Nintendo remembers that. They remember the point of the game is not to make it feel realistic or look like ultra-realistic graphics or wonder if this person should look like this or who this game character should represent. They care about the fun of the game, and Mario and Luigi Brotherhood clearly represented that when it showed this trailer. Releasing November 7th, 2024, Mario and Luigi Brothership looks like it will be continuing the tradition of engaging gameplay, creative storytelling, and honestly, not taking itself too seriously. A fun game for everyone all around. And then they started talking about other games. They went into the Nintendo World Championships NES edition. Then they started talking about Fairy Tail 2. And then they started talking about Fantasian Neo Dimension, which is a game I'd never heard of, nor did I think to care about, until they said it was made by the creator of Final Fantasy and also music from Noboru Uematsu from Final Fantasy VII, most people remember from, but also Final Fantasy 3 or 6 in Japan. Fantastic, incredible music from all the Final Fantasies, and these two together combining to make yet another role-playing game? Yeah, I'm in. Releasing winter 2024, Fantasian Neo Dimension looks to bring a fantastic, fun, new RPG art style to the Nintendo Switch, and it's one that I definitely plan on checking out. From that, they went into a few updates for existing games, then talked about a couple smaller titles that didn't really catch my eye too much. Then they had an announcement for a new game called Mio, Memories in Orbit. And initially I was like, oh, it's just another generic side-scrolling, I guess it's trying to be like Hollow Knight with this cool style with different colors instead of just black and white. But the more I watched it, the more I was like, wow, that's some serious intricate designs in the background. And it kind of got me lost in the moment where I was watching the background movement more than the actual game. Like, you can see how much effort and passion went into creating this just from the style and the artistic backgrounds of it. Then I watched it again and saw the foreground and was like, wow, yeah, actually, I'm pretty hyped for this Mio Memories in Orbit game. It looks pretty cool. And then brought up Donkey Kong Country Returns HD, originally on the Nintendo Wii. I saw a few people on Twitter that weren't very excited about this because they're like, oh, we were really hoping for a new Donkey Kong Country game, and I was as well because that's been rumored heavily for a while now. But at the same time, Donkey Kong Country Returns HD is taking a look back at one of the original great games on the Nintendo Wii. And for people who have already played it and enjoy it, they know this game is top tier Donkey Kong Country. And for those who haven't played it already, who cares if there's a new Donkey Kong game or not? If you haven't played this, it's new to you, and I highly recommend checking it out because it's a lot of fun. And plus, I'd imagine a new Donkey Kong Country is already in the works at Nintendo right now. They're probably holding off on an announcement with that when they finally come out with a Nintendo Switch successor. Then a couple announcements completely blew my mind with Dragon Quest III HD 2D Remake. And they came out with this initially, and they're like, yeah, Dragon Quest III, it's great, it looks awesome, it's cool. And I was like, what about the first two? That's really weird that they're starting with 3. And then after the announcement for 3, they went into talking about how they're also doing Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D remakes, and how Dragon Quest 3 is actually the prequel to 1, so it actually makes more sense to play the third one first. And I never really got too into these ones back in the day, so this seems like the perfect opportunity to do so, along with that oodles and oodles of free time that we all have to play these long RPGs, right? Then they talked about Funko Fusion, and then went into Luigi's Mansion 2 HD, which, I mean, Luigi's Mansion 2, great game on the Nintendo 3DS. I had a lot of fun playing it, played it multiple times, beat it multiple times, so the idea of returning to it isn't really getting me excited because I'm already like, yeah, I've played it a bunch. I'm not going to return to it again. But it's a fun game, and for people that missed it or didn't play it enough on the 3DS, this is one you definitely should be looking forward to because it's a fantastic game. Then they went into a slew of announcements for smaller type games. Nothing too crazy blowing my mind. I guess the Metal Slug game and the Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection were two standouts from that group that they went through before they got to a new Super Mario Party game called Super Mario Party Jamboree. But honestly, when it comes to Super Mario Party games, I'm like, I've kind of had my fill with them. I have so many Mario Party games and I never play them. So if I do have a group together that want to play Mario Party games, we could play one of the, what are they, like 15 of them now, and feel like we're having a unique experience each time. I don't really see any reason to diving into a brand new installment of it, but I guess for the hardcore Mario Party families out there, or groups of friends that always get together to play these and are looking for a new one, you could do far worse than this one. And then they had an announcement that I could have never imagine. Now, I know this leaked a couple months ago, or maybe last year even, where they said Nintendo was working on a Zelda mainline series where you actually play as Zelda. But along with other rumors at Nintendo, I kind of take those with a grain of salt until it actually comes to fruition. To top that off, to see the art style in the same style as Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening on Nintendo Switch, which was one of my favorite art styles that they've ever done with Zelda, it just completely blew my mind. Releasing September 26, 2024, with a limited edition Switch Lite as well, a Zelda game where you play as Zelda herself with a fantastic twist. This game, you can use the magic wand to recreate elements and duplicate them and use them to stack on top of each other, create enemies, duplicating them. It looks like it's going to take some fun aspects of Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom and the building and putting all that stuff together, where you can actually just create items and stack them on top of each other. I do appreciate how Nintendo is able to add a mechanic to a game to make a new hook to it, make it something interesting and unique that is different than the other Zelda games that have come before it, but also building on top of them so that it doesn't feel completely disjointed and disconnected. This game immediately shot to my #1 most wanted game in 2024. Then they went through a few smaller games or titles that we typically see every year, like Just Dance, and games that have already been announced, like Lego Horizon Adventures, or games that have already come out on other platforms, like Stray. And then they talked about Tales of the Shire, a Lord of the Rings food making game, which I guess that would be cool for people that are into that kind of thing. I looked at it, I was like, I mean, if you're really into food making games, Lord of the Rings food making, it's just a weird direction to go with it, but who knows? Maybe it'll be fun. Not something that I'm necessarily excited about, but I'm sure there's an audience for it. Then they talked about Romancing Saga 2, Revenge for the 7 remake, and it looks like it's going to be introducing the classic game to a new audience while also delighting longtime fans of the series. I never really got into Romancing Saga. I've heard great things about it, and I've always wanted to, but it kind of goes along with the joke of, like, there's so many RPGs, so many that I haven't played already, and now Nintendo is announcing remakes and 2D HD remakes and remakes of remakes, and I'm like, I can't even keep up with the ones that I wanted to get to before these. So it's a lot of games that take up a lot of time, and you need to really do some serious time management skills to get through what you want to get through on those, which is why I haven't gotten to Romancing Saga 2. And then, blowing everyone's mind with the biggest hopes of this presentation, were they going to talk about Metroid Prime 4? Was it going to be brought up? And sure enough, it was the grand finale. They showed off not just that the game is coming out in 2025, but they actually showed gameplay and footage from the game. And initially, I looked at it, I was like, I don't really know about this. It looks alright, whatever. But I did another viewing of the trailer over and over again to see some minute details in it. And it looks gorgeous. It really does. And yeah, I know it's not going to be like on par with Xbox and PlayStation level graphics, but that's to be expected with this type of game. It's Metroid Prime, alright? Like, people who play Metroid and like Metroid Prime, it's going to be right up that alley, like myself. Super excited about this one. Coming out in 2025, like I said, which obviously it's kind of straightforward that Nintendo is going to most likely be doing the cross-platform system launch with this one, similar to what they did with Tears of the Kingdom. When Zelda came out on Switch and the Wii U, it came out on both those platforms. I would imagine the same type of situation is going to be happening here with Metroid Prime 4. So, that being the case, yes, I'm very excited about it, but I'm kind of even more excited to see what it looks like if it's going to have enhanced graphics or enhanced features on the Nintendo Switch successor when that eventually gets announced in the coming months. Anyway, so that's the information that we have for this Nintendo Direct June 2024. It was epic. Completely blew my mind. It was Nintendo reminding everyone why they're the king of gaming. It goes back to like how PlayStation had their game announcements and Xbox had their game announcements, and while they were both like decent in their own right, some people might say the PlayStation one sucked, whatever. My point being is, I feel like the other ones went through way too many games. They got convoluted and confusing because, to me, they look very similar. All the graphic styles, everything looked the same. It was confusing on which games were which because they all did a lot of the same stuff. Whereas Nintendo has this smorgasbord of all these different colorful games doing different things, taking games in different directions and making different mechanics to make them feel very unique and using major properties to prop them up. 3 huge properties: Mario, Zelda, Metroid, all new games, all revealed in this Nintendo Direct. It was a banger. And sure, could it have been better? Could they have had like a new Kid Icarus game or a new game property that we'd never heard of before that was just amazing? Sure, they could have. But as far as Nintendo Directs go, this one was up there with some of the best of all time. At least those are my thoughts on it. I'd love to hear what you guys think. Let me know in the comments below what you took out of this Nintendo Direct, and if you feel the same way I did, or if it fell short of somewhat ridiculous expectations. I don't know how that could be the case, but I'd love to hear your opinion on it. Let me know down in the comments. Again, check out smashjt.com for the full article breaking down all the games with the videos, trailers, and everything else that they revealed in this Nintendo Direct. If you guys enjoy what I'm doing, hit that join button. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, you stay smashing.